My topic is Proverbs and what it has to say about money. And when I first started the study, it was really amazing how many scriptures or verses in the book of Proverbs really talk about money. And I've got a lot of slides, I've got a lot of information, so I'm going to try to move kind of fast, but but not too fast. Anyway, wrong way. Okay, the Proverbs has a great deal to say about money and related topics such as giving, poverty, righteousness, and wisdom. The purpose of this study is to narrowly focus it upon the issue of money, though. And I want to kind of draw out from the material in Proverbs principles to help us maintain a biblical lifestyle in relation to money. Okay, principles from Proverbs on money. We need to honor God with our wealth. Proverbs 3:9, we need to prioritize our giving, and we need to give to Him first. Proverbs 3:9 says, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. You have to be situated, so bear with me. Now, a principle is so prominent in the New Testament also. To obtain, one must first give. In Matthew 12:13, the Lord made a statement to be exalted, but one first must need to be abased. Jesus also taught that the way to receive was to give. Malachi, he challenged the Jews to give as they were taught to give, and to see how God would then bless it. That's in Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. So wealth, we have to remember also, wealth to the ancient Israelites was not only money and that kind of thing, but it included barns filled with grain and vats overflowing with the fruit of the vine. So, wealth was more than just money. God will often bless people materially who give to Him first. Proverbs 3:10, then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. In Proverbs 19:17, it says, he that hath pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, and that which he hath given will the Lord pay him again. Luke 6:38, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over, shall men give into your bosom. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 through 7. But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall also reap sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man according as he has prospered in his heart. So let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. Proverbs 13:21, evil pursues sinners, but the righteous are rewarded with good. And that's a true statement. When evil pursues sinners, evil does follow sinners, and eventually will overtake and destroy them. We have the example of Cain in the Old Testament. His sacrifice to God was not as acceptable, and therefore he murdered his brother Abel. Also, we look at the New Testament. Judas Iscariot, he betrayed Christ for 30 pieces of silver. So evil does catch up, and it does repay. When it comes to money, we need to put God first. Matthew 6:24, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. That goes back to Proverbs 3, verse 9, when we talk about we need to give God first. We look at God first in our giving. Because if we look at Him first, we have no problem with this scripture here, because we won't try to serve two masters. We will serve God. And there's people who try to serve both and try to ride the fence, but unfortunately, it just can't be done. Evil or serving money will take a grip. You just get a hold of it. Okay. Remember that wisdom is more important than money. When I was growing up, I don't guess I really understood this, because my dad I can remember my dad on occasion saying that, God will take care of us. Growing up, my three older sisters, we sometimes, and of course I didn't realize that until I was small. And he would say, God will take care of us, take care of our needs. Now he was referring to having food on the table, but I didn't understand it. But as I got older, I did understand that. I understood that, okay, you put your trust in God, He will take care of it. However, the wisdom comes in, yes, He will take care of you, but you got to do your part. You can't sit down and say, okay, God's going to take care of me. Kind of like the people of Thessalonica did. And so, he worked 3 jobs. He worked civil service, he was a wholesale candy man, and he was a preacher for the town. He never sacrificed his family taking us to church, never sacrificed taking us to church on Wednesdays and Sundays. And I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed to grow up in a Christian home, to have Christian parents. Because he didn't know it then. Now that I'm a couple of years older now, I understand, that, okay, he didn't know what he was talking about. And I understand, okay, with wisdom comes from studying the Word, understanding the Word. I kind of understand that principle. So we need to remember, wisdom is more important than money. Proverbs 8:18, wisdom often brings enduring wealth. And also verse 21. Verse 18 says, riches and honor are with me, enduring riches and righteousness. Verse 21, that I may cause those who love me to inherit wealth, that I may fill their treasures. Riches and honor are benefits of wisdom. We have wisdom. We know how to handle money. We know what we need to do to earn a living. And do it rightly. Do it honestly. That's what, wisdom will help us do that. Matthew 6:19-21, it says, I think I've already read this, lay up for yourselves treasures upon earth. Let me just read it. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth correct, where need, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Those who love wisdom will be led in the paths of righteousness. They will ultimately inherit substance at last. They will be filled with treasures. Give, and it shall be given to you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together, and running over, and men given to your bosom. For with the same measure that you met withal, it shall be measured to you again. So basically that's just saying we need to give, and it will be given back to us. It should be almost second nature. You don't think about it. But understand, we have to be wise in what we do too. You always got to be careful. Don't want to go one way or the other. You got to first focus on what God wants you to do. It talks about righteousness. Brother Cato, I don't know if anybody knows Brother Cato. He's passed away now. He's a preacher from Nashville, in the Nashville area. The definition of righteousness was doing what God says to do, doing it when God says to do it, and doing it in the manner that God says to do it. So we can apply that to the principle in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 2. When we say, do what God says to do, what does God say to do? He says, give. When does God say to do it? On the first day of the week. In what manner? As we purpose in our heart. So, that's righteousness. That's not only applied to wealth and money, but it's applied to every principle in the Bible. Wisdom yields better fruit than money. Let's see. 8:20. I think I made my statement before I got to the verse, but anyway, that's okay. I traverse the way of righteousness, and the only thing that means that I lead the way. I lead the way of righteousness in the midst of paths of justice. Wisdom enables one to rightly use money. That's Proverbs 17:16. It says, wise are in the hand of a fool the purchase price of wisdom, since he has no heart in it. And I looked at that verse a while and had to try to kind of understand that. But The example, and I used Brother Bob Winton's commentary a lot on this. He had a lot of good commentaries on a lot of the different books of the Bible. But he talks about young people will invest the time and money to attend the university, but use their time in pursuit of sensual and worldly pleasures. You know, a lot of times when we get out of high school, we do, me too. When I graduated from high school, I wanted to go to college. I thought I was more focused. But we all know people who go to college, and they go for one reason, and it's not to open the books to study. You know, a lot of them go to have a good time. Mom and Dad's not looking at me now. I can kind of do what I want to do. And I'm not saying everybody's that way. I'm just saying sometimes that is the case. So is that using money wisely? No. Sometimes you do that and you pass. But when you get through, you really, when you earn a degree, or you really qualify for that degree. Sometimes parents are guilty. They say, I'm going to send you to college just to get you out of the house. You need to understand what you want to do. And that's not necessarily spending money wisely either. So, so when we look at this verse, we got to really discern the purpose. We've got to really understand what we're dealing with. Because, you have to look at what you're spending, and you have to ask yourself the question, is it more wise to use this money here? Maybe you need to stay home and work a year to try to get an understanding of what life is all about, what it really takes. I'll tell you an example. When I was in the 10th grade, my dad and mom both passed away, so they couldn't get up to me. When I was in the 10th grade, I had a hard time in school. Algebra 2, my nemesis. I did not open a book. I didn't care. I did not pass. I passed to the 11th grade, but I did not pass algebra. And I was toying with the thought of, okay, is school worth it? Do I really want to continue? My dad, in his wisdom, brought me down to the construction company that was building this church building, Payton Construction Company. And he dropped me off. He said, I got a good guy for you here. And my job was using a pickaxe to dig the foundation ditches. That's before the backhoes. We used a pickaxe. There were several of us that used a pickaxe. My 11th and 12th grade years, I made A's and B's. So he knew that, okay, I'm going to instill in him the sense of what it really means to get an education or not get an education. And I appreciate that. At the time, I thought he was being mean, but I'm thankful that he did that. I'm so thankful. Made me a better person. Wisdom gives one proper restraint in the pursuit of money. This is a warning against striving for wealth given. We ought not to set our minds on becoming rich. One whose chief goal in life is to amass a fortune will make everything else subservient to that aim. Thus, we'll fall into temptation and a snare, and into money, foolish and hurtful lust, which drown man in destruction and perdition. So, how do we pursue money? We need to do it honestly. We need to really think about what we do when we get jobs and stuff that we're going to do for a living. We need to be sure that, it's something that we can do honestly. We don't want to make it our focus, our main focus. And I've got to earn $1 and everything else goes. Everything else is sack. Cannot do that or should do that. Do not overwork to be rich because of your own understanding. You need to cease. You don't need to overwork to get rich. You need to rest. You need to take time out. You need to take time for God. We need to ask God for wisdom in dealing with money. James 1:5, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, and give generously to all, without reproach, and it will be given to him. So when we ask God for money and deal with money, we need to go to him in prayer. We need to ask for wisdom in how we deal with our money. We need to, we just need to have wisdom in how we deal with our money. We don't need to just haphazardly spend money just because we want to spend money. We just don't need to do that. Remember that righteousness is more important than money. Righteous people can have great riches that involve no trouble. In the house of the righteous there is much treasure, but trouble befalls the income of the wicked. Okay. The comparison between the righteous and the wicked, which abounds in Proverbs. I mean, you have a statement about the righteous and you have a statement about the wicked. It just abounds. The righteous person excels the wicked in regard to material wealth. The wicked man has obtained his by evil means, the righteous by decent methods. The wicked spends his wealth generally for the gratification of earthly appetites. The righteous is interested in the Lord's cause and in helping the needy. The evil man sees wealth as the end. The righteous sees it as a means to a good end. In the average case, the righteous man is not wealthy, but he has spiritual treasures which far surpass the actual wealth of an evil man. A poor but blameless man, for example, one who is righteous, is better off, for example, than before God than a rich but perverse man. And that's a true statement. Growing up, I guess in today's standards, I don't know if we were poor or not. Maybe we were. But, one thing I can say is my dad was a righteous man. And he instilled that in the family. And he would, there were people we knew that were rich. And we knew they weren't very godly. And that's what riches do sometimes. Riches will take our focus off what's important in life. We're rich, but we're rich spiritually, what we do. We're rich spiritually, and our focus should be on going to heaven. And that's what's most important. In 28:6, I think I just talked about that. Better is the poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. God often rewards the righteous with money. Righteous people, there's a lot of people in the church today that have a lot of money, but it's not their focus. It's not the love of money. They rightly deal with money. I can't think of the man's name, and I'm sure some of y'all know the insurance man in Nashville. A.W. Burton, that's right. He was a very wealthy man, but you would never know it to talk to him or see him. I thought I heard every day at lunch he ate a salad. A.M. Burton. Every day at lunch he ate a salad, from what I'm told. That's what he did. But he gave just hundreds of thousands of dollars to the church work, to mission. And, that's what we do. And as a righteous, rich person, we don't want the Lord, but we want to support the work of the Lord, the work of the church. And that's what we need to do if we do have the means to do that. And we have to search our souls and try to attain that. Disaster pursues the sinners, but the righteous are rewarded with good. It is better to have a little money with righteousness than much with injustice. I agree, because at some point, injustice, obtaining money by evil ways, at some point, will probably catch up with you, depending on how you get the money. 16:8. Wealth that is acquired through dishonest means results in at least two problems: a bad conscience and fear that one's dishonesty will be exposed. That's the word. Better is a little righteousness. Right? Okay. Resulting in shame and poverty. Proverbs say that it's far better to have little than to have much accompanied by guilt and fear. It is far better to be right and have God's approval while having little of the world's goods than to be well off in sin. Okay, we're going to have to move. Seek uprightness in money matters. 2 Corinthians 8:21. For we aim at what is honorable not only in the Lord's sight, but also in the sight of man. So when we strive to honor God, we also want to be conscious of, we want to do something that's going to honor our fellow man too. We don't want to do something that's going to put us in jeopardy with our fellow man. That's why when we get money or earn money, we need to do it honestly. So they will not have a reason to say, well, look at him, how he got his money. So when we need to always think not only of God, we also need to think of our conscience and our fellow man. Remember that fearing God is more important than money. Fearing God is better than a lot of money. Proverbs 15:16, better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble with it. Humility and the fear of God often leads to the acquisition of money. Proverbs 22:4, the reward for humility and the fear of the Lord is riches and honor and life. We need to remember to whom we must give an account. Romans 14:10, why do you pass judgment on your brother? Or why do you despise your brother? For we will all stand before the judgment seat of God. We need to understand we're going to have to give an account one day. We're going to have to do it before God. People diligent at what they do often acquire much wealth. Diligent people, in contrast to lazy people, often have money. Makes sense? Proverbs 10:4, a slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. So when we look at it says people diligent in what they do often acquire much wealth. And then diligent people, in contrast to lazy people, often have more money. It gets back to what I said earlier when I was talking with my dad and his wisdom. When diligent people, wise people, knows what it takes to acquire wealth. You don't sit at home. You don't sit on the couch, especially if you're able, physically there. You have to do what you need to do to earn a living for you and your family and your children. You have to set an example. You can't be lazy. You can't say, well, I'm going to do this tomorrow. And I understand, and you do too, you always say tomorrow, and guess what? Tomorrow is way over here somewhere. Before you know it, several years have passed away. So we have to be, we have to understand, we need, we can't be lazy about the Lord's work. We have to do what we have to do. All hard work brings a profit, whereas mere talk accomplishes nothing. We just talked about that. Chapter 14, verse 23. In all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty. Acquiring wealth takes diligent planning. Anything less may end up in ruin. Chapter 21, verse 5. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. It does take diligent planning. We live in a world like we want it right now. We want everything right now, especially when we're young. I was like, well, I couldn't get it because I didn't have money. But a lot of times we do it because we borrow the money. We just say, well, I'm going to get it now no matter what. And unfortunately, if you do that, you have a lot of debt. And sometimes it's hard to crawl out of that debt. You just have to. That's why you need to be diligent. You need to plan. Okay, this is what a 1 year, 2 year, 3 or 4, 5 year plan. Well, you need to be diligent. Okay, this is what in 5 years. This is what we need to have. Especially if you're a young family. If we need to have a house, if we're going to have children, this is what we need to try to do and plan for that. And so, it's hard to do that, especially when you're young. But we need to try. And as we get older, I'm not just picking on the young people. As we get older, we're the same way. We go through what they call midlife crisis. We think we got to have something we really don't need. But we just have to plan for things. We just can't just a spur of the moment spend. We just have to plan for it. People who cannot control their spending habits end up with nothing. That's true. Sometimes you can't control your spending habits, you get in debt, you get to the point where you can't pay your bills, you end up with nothing. Because a lot of times, more times than not, if you can't find help, either through the bank, through family, or friends, or the consumer credit counselors or stuff, sometimes you have to do what you don't want to do, and that's declare bankruptcy. And there are different kinds, but still, when you do that, pretty much everything goes. You don't have anything. So, you just got to be careful. That's why you got to be diligent in your planning. Chapter 21, verse 17, the violence of the wicked will sweep them away because they refuse to do what is just. That's just basically, saying we just got to spend. We just got to control our spending and be wise and diligent in what we do. We need to plan for our financial future as far as it depends on us. And we can plan based on our abilities when we go to school, whatever we major in. We can plan on what we need to do to earn a living. Because God gives all of us abilities, and we need to use those abilities, just like the talents. We need to use those abilities to do what we need to do to plan. But we don't need to lose focus on everything belongs to God. All we are stewards. We're stewards of everything that we have that comes from God, because God has blessed us with all that. Some of us He blesses more. Too much is given, more is expected. We have to give an account for that. We need to recognize the limitations of money. Money can do nothing to deliver someone from the wrath of God. Proverbs 11:4, riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. Money is very temporal and lasts but a short time. Proverbs 23:5, when your eyes light on it, it is gone, for suddenly it sprouts wings flying like an eagle toward heaven. Chapter 27:24, for riches do not last forever, nor does a crown endure to all generations. Money cannot be trusted in, for it will lead to one's downfall. You got to trust instead in God. Chapter 11, verse 28, whoever trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like a green leaf. So we don't need to trust in money because it's only temporal. You can't take it with us. We need to be sober about money and keep it in perspective. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 6 through 10. But godliness and contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. We need to recognize the potential for good that money properly used can have. Money can provide protection from certain problems and alleviate certain stresses. When you work and you have plenty of money, you can budget. You have plenty of money, you can pay for your house, pay for your education, your kids going to school, you can plan for that, you can plan to save money, to allow for that through your life. And it can alleviate certain problems. Because most times, couples' biggest issues, when they have issues, is about money. They want, either the husband or the wife, both guilty. They want this one wants that. But we got to pay the rent. Or you spend the money before the rent's paid, and issues happen. And that's just really what it's saying. It can, the proper handling and diligent use of money can prevent these problems. You've got to sit down. You've got to talk to each other. You've got to communicate. That's the biggest thing. A rich man's wealth is a strong city. Poverty of the poor is their ruin. That's chapter 10, verse 15. Money can be left as an inheritance to help one's descendants in his life. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. Now, I saw that money can be left as an inheritance for our descendants. And that is true. We would like to plan to leave something to our children. Some people, I know everyone's heard the old adage, I'm spending my children's inheritance right now. They're not going to get anything. But you know what I mean. You do want to leave something, maybe. And I'm not saying you need to leave a lot of money, because sometimes when you do that, they don't know how to properly use it. They can't discern it. They're not going to be diligent in the handling of it. So you have to ask yourself, I'm going to do myself an injustice, or will I help? We need to be prepared to use money to good ends. Philippians 4:14, yet it was kind of you to share my trouble. We need to recognize and avoid the evil that money can cause in relationships. Rich people tend to receive more attention than others than poor people do. This is often called favoritism. James 4:20, the poor is disliked even by his neighbor. The rich has many friends. James 2:11, for he who said, do not commit adultery, also said, do not murder. If you do not commit adultery but do murder, you have become a transgressor of the law. So we have to recognize to avoid the evil that money can cause in relationships. That could be husband and wife. That could be brother, sister, siblings. It could be parents. It could also be the people we work for. We have to be careful. Money issues cause a lot of problems all across the board. Family, work, move on. We got to move on. If you are rich, be careful of people who desire your friendship. Wealth brings many new friends, doesn't it? And I know we've all seen that. It just does. If you are poor, do not be surprised if people abandon you for a rich friend. Have you seen that? It happens. The Proverbs is just full of just life practical applications. But a poor man is deserted by his friend. That's true. I know y'all probably read in the paper, seen it in the news, and seen it on TV and stuff. So-and-so lost his fortune, now he has no friends. A true friend is going to be with you no matter what. We need to realize that. Chapter 19, verse 7, all a poor man's brothers hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursues them with words, but does not have them. Those with money often become the target of thieves. Chapter 13, verse 8, the ransom of a man's life is his wealth, but a poor man hears no threat. Okay, this is continued. We need to recognize and avoid the evil that money can cause in relationships. I think I've already done that. I have. I think I copied my slide twice, and I'll go right on through. Rich people often lord their wealth over poor people. Chapter 22, verse 7, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. The rich and the poor must remember that God made them both. That's in chapter 22, verse 2. Humility is the order of the day. The rich and the poor men together, the Lord is the maker of them all. So we need to be humble. We need to humble ourselves. Don't matter if Bill Gates is sitting here, and well, he's so rich, we're all sitting over here, but it doesn't matter. We need to be humble. Because God made both of us. He made both of us. Giving generously often leads to acquiring further wealth and spiritual benefits, but poverty awaits the stingy. Generosity, not stinginess, often leads to having more money. Chapter 11, verse 24, one gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give, and only suffers want. Generosity also often leads to the giver being spiritually refreshed. Chapter 11, verse 25, whoever brings blessings will be enriched, and one who waters will himself be watered. Those who are stingy often end up with nothing. The second part of chapter 11, verse 24, but a blessing is on the head of him who sells it. A stingy man hastens after wealth and does not know that poverty will come upon him. So you don't even think about it. It just happens. You need to give generously. 2 Corinthians 9, verses 6 and 7. The point is this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, and reluctantly or under compulsion. No, not reluctantly or under compulsion. God loves a cheerful giver. Money gained by unjust means leads to naught, whereas the monetary blessing of God brings no trouble. Money gained by dishonest means dwindles away fast. Chapter 13, verse 11, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. People who oppress others for money can come to poverty because of it. Chapter 22, verse 16, the first part, whoever oppresses the poor to increase his own wealth or gives to the rich will only come to poverty. We need to earn our money honestly. Acts 24:16 and 2 Thessalonians 3:7-9. Okay, I didn't write that down. Those are some Bible references. So I always take pains to have a clear conscience towards both God and man. And that may be That may be Acts 24:16, I think it is. 2 Thessalonians 3, verses 7 through 9. For you yourselves know how you ought to imitate us, because we were not idle when we were with you, and did not eat anyone's bread without praying for him. For with toil and labor, or working night and day, that we might not be a burden to any of you. It was not because we do not have a right, but to give you and ourselves an example to imitate. That was Paul, and on their missionary journeys, he chose to work, help earn money to make a living while they were there. He didn't want to depend on the brothers, and he wanted to leave an example for them to imitate. We need to be careful for greed. Greed for money can lead to family problems. We talked about that. That's in chapter 15, verse 27. Whoever is greedy for unjust gain troubles his own household, but he who hates bribes will live. Do not charge exorbitant interest. Justice will prevail. Chapter 28, verse 8. Whoever multiplies his wealth by interest and profit gathers it for him who is generous and too generous to the poor. We need to ask God for the proper amount of money. Chapter 30, verse 8. Remove far from me falsehood and lying. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food that is needful for me. So we need to ask, we just need to ask for the proper amount of money. When we're being diligent and understanding, we're praying to God. We need the right amount of money to live on. We don't need all this excess. We need to focus on what we need to live, and we need to focus on what we need to be right in the sight of God. We need to search our heart before God that we might be aware of any greed. Ephesians 5:3. Sexual immortality and all purity or covetousness, which is greed, must not even be named among you, as is proper among the saints. So we need to understand we don't need to be covetous. We don't need to be greedy. Because greedy, we start doing things we shouldn't do. We start to be hateful to our fellow man. We start to have strife in the family, strife in the workplace. In summary, we need to remember that a biblical view of money brings by a commitment to honoring God first with our money. It goes back to chapter 3, verse 9. Then we must keep in mind that wisdom and righteousness and the fear of God are more important than money. That will enable us to perform the first principle more adequately as well as the others. The first principle is to give to God first. It goes back to what I said about righteousness. Do what God says to do, when God says to do it, and in the manner which God says to do it.